In the current patch, the meta build is Infinity Edge plus 2 zeal items and 2 situational items on AD carries, which isn't the best DPS wise build available. I've done some researches and concluded that the best DPS build in the current patch is to stack 3 infinities plus 1 situational zeal item and another situational item. This build increases the DPS by 30 to 40%, assuming we're not using any abilities, and also increases the critical chance to 100% from 75%. Here are the DPS comparisons for the 3 stacked infinities versus the famous steel stack build for some AD carries. For Jinx, the DPS increased by around 40%, Caitlyn's DPS increased by around 23%, while Tristana's DPS increased by around 30%. This build not only increases the DPS of basic attacks, but it also increases the physical ability damage by almost 15 to 35%. As you can see, Jinx Zap damage increased by around 17%, while her ulti damage increased by around 15%. Tristana's explosive charge increased by around 30%, while Caitlyn's ulti increased by around 33%, and her Q increased by around 47%. Now that we know for sure that it has higher DPS, let's discuss the situations for each zeal item, but first, let's analyze the reasons why this build is far more superior and possibly broken than the standard 1 infinity and 2 zeal items. But if you're not into math and history, you can skip to the next part. You will find the timestamps down in the description, and make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Infinity Edge was always a core item for most of AD carries like Jinx, Jhin, Ashe, Caitlyn, Tristana, Draven and others. Riot has been trying to balance this item over the patches by reducing its damage, changing its passive or altering the cost, until they finally buffed its core stats to the max, starting from the damage which is now at 80, which is the highest damage Infinity ever had, to the critical strike chance which is now at 25%, and cost at 3400, which is the least value the Infinity Edge ever cost. And to balance all the buffs, they decreased the passive from dealing 250% critical strike damage to 225%, which made Infinity actually balanced, in case you don't stack it. The reason why stacking the same item is not the best is that when Riot works on balancing an item, they try to match item stats and passive with cost. The thing is, passive doesn't stack, but if they buff the stats to the max and reduce the cost to the max, the overbuffed stats overcompensates the unstackable passive by far. Plus, the item works well with itself, since 80 damage is the highest damage you can get from an item, and of course critical strike damage scales with damage. Zeal items now cost 2600 and give from 30% to 40% attack speed, and the same 25% critical strike of the Infinity, and 5 to 7% movement speed, besides one unique passive. But 80 damage is far better and more impactful than 40% attack speed and 5% movement speed overall, stats wise. You might ask, how am I gonna get this build since it's very expensive compared to the known one? The whole idea is to keep getting stronger at every stage of the game and use this strength. The new build path is dependent on BF swords. Whenever you can get one, just get it, unless you're finishing an item. So at your first recall, you get 1 BF or Berserker Greaves or Pickaxe, depends on your gold. Second recall, you get another BF or Pickaxe and Boots. So the first item combination you have is Infinity Edge, BF Sword and upgraded boots. Then you start building towards your second Infinity and Zeal item together, and if you have the chance to finish any of them, do it. Second stage in the game is when you get 2 Infinity Edges and a situational Zeal item, as we're gonna discuss. Third stage of the game is to get third Infinity, and fourth stage is to get the last situational item. For situational Zeal items, run Static Shiv if you're losing, since it deals more damage as you need it, and helps you clear waves and stack gold quicker to get your items and get back in the game. Rapid Fire Cannon if you're winning, since you can move in the map freely and flex on your opponents with your range advantage. Hurricane if you're looking for scaling and playing for the late game. Phantom if you're against a high damage dealer that is hard to avoid. And here are some bonus tips for running this build. For this build to work, you should use lethal tempo on champions that is in need of attack speed like Tristana, Caitlyn, Ashe and Jinx. Situational zeal and last item that work well together are Lord Dominic's or Mortar Reminder plus static against full armor 2 tanks or more. Mercurial Scimitar plus Rapid Fire Cannon to flex on enemy team freely. Bloodthirster plus Hurricane for the best scaling and lifesteal, as Hurricane helps Bloodthirster in lifestealing. You can even run Zonias plus Phantom Dancer against full threat enemy team, and you will still be able to shred squishy targets, as most high threat champions are squishy. If you have 2600 gold, instead of buying a BF, pickaxe, boots and a dagger, buy 2 BFs for increased AD stats. This build isn't for AD carries that depend on unhit effects like Kog'Maw or Israel that has a totally different build depending on mana. Another champions that need Essence Reaver, CD and mana like Lucian should go the same build but replace one of the 3 infinities by an Essence Reaver, and the Essence Reaver can be the first item. Final build should be 3 infinities, 1 situational zeal item, upgraded boots, last item is situational, or 2 infinities, 1 Essence Reaver, 1 situational zeal item, upgraded boots and last item is situational. To summarize, do not stack zeal items, just 1 situational zeal item is enough. Go lethal tempo on AD carries that depend on attack speed. Keep in mind that BF swords and infinities are a power spike even when stacked. Try to make combos using the situational zeal item and the 5th situational item. Tell us what you think about this build in the comments below. That concludes the video, and see you next time.